The one reason a lot of people don't like what I say when I talk about the code is because it's above, you know, it's above this plane. It don't have to be. I don't know, maybe it's designed that way. It's really easy to me when you realize that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word made all things. By Him all things were made, so everything in front of you is a Word. And if everything in front of you is a Word, and it is, it doesn't matter if it's the sign, it doesn't matter if the graphs, the bridge, the lines, the dashes, the shapes, the symbols, the phonics, the body language, everything is a word, and it's speaking. Everything in front of you is declaring the truth. The shape of those containers. I guess what it comes down to is it's hard to believe. I think this might be the glitch in the mind. It's hard to believe that everything that man is doing is still under God's control. That's where it's hard for people. People say, well, man has his free will. Well, yeah, he has free will, but it's unlimited free will. Don't you know that God has written the script? God has written the script. You can run from your calling if you want to. You can try. You can run from reality. You can run from the truth, but the hound of heaven is coming after you. And the hound of heaven knows how to count every hair on your head, every grain of sand. If you really think there's coincidence in this world, that's the problem. If you think if you realize it's a program and it's a balance, it's kind of like a balance, like the flesh is 33% and the spirit is 66%. You would think that it's an even balance, the yin and the yang, but it's more of a 33-66% balance, because the spirit is more powerful than the flesh. What they're trying to do, though, the dark side knows that the spirit is more powerful. The light is more powerful than the dark, because when you turn the light switch on, the darkness has to flee. So the dark side knows that. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to shut down the truth, shut down the light. If they can shut down the gospel, if people speaking the truth, then they shut off the light and they destroy the earth. But it's not going to happen. That's their game. And that's why when the church is raptured, the church is holding back. The rapture of the church is what's holding this thing back. As soon as the church is raptured, then they're going to say peace, peace, and then sudden destruction. And then God has to seal his witnesses and his 144,000. And once God seals his people, the devil learns how to seal his people, and it's game on. And then you got the tribulation, 3.5 years. All the people tied to the hive mind, the whole world will be tied to the hive mind, except for those people who are sealed. And they'll actually try to kill them, and they can't kill them. Somebody asked me today, said, shouldn't you be able to, since a wall, there's really more space in a wall than there are atoms. Can't you walk through the wall? And I guess they'll be able to one day. But the secret is you'd have to vibrate at a frequency that you'd be better off teleporting through the wall. Just teleport. You'd have to vibrate at a different frequency, because the atoms in your body are the same atoms in that wall. And so in order to walk through the wall, you'd have to be vibrating at a different frequency. And if you vibrated at that frequency, would your body fall apart, you know? Or could you do it, you might be able to do it this way. You might be able to have like a car, a carriage, some kind of container, and that container vibrates on the outside at a certain frequency, and you just walk through inside the container. That's probably how it will happen. It'll probably happen. There has to be some kind of conveyance. Anyway, all things are possible. But once you really understand that everything is the now, and same story everywhere and all the time, you really don't even want to vibrate through the wall, because no matter where you're at, it's the same story. It's a fractal hologram. There's no need to vibrate through a wall when the thing on the other side of the wall is what you're dealing with now. It's all a story. And if you watch the latest movie that came out, there was a movie that Everything, Everywhere, All the Time. I think that was the name of the movie. And so the deal about that is, at the very end of the movie, the daughter says, well, why do you want to be with me when you could be all these other places? That's the point. You could be, that's the point of love. You could go here, go here, go here, you could be anywhere. But that might be exciting for a season, but then you fall back to where you're supposed to be. And so teleporting to another universe is no longer really a desire. Or teleporting into another story is no longer a desire. Unless you don't like your story. There's a meme online that says some woman said, F this. There's a meme online that says, F this shite. She packed her bags and she said, F this shite. This is not going to be my story. So if you don't like your story, yeah, change it. If you do like, if you do change it, you're probably going to have something similar in the next place. And it might not be as good as where you were at. Talking about the grass not greener on the other side. And so no matter where you go, you're still there. And no matter where you go, the same problems arise. So you can make the best of it wherever you're at. And actually, since the story never changes, let's say I go over there to that building and I deal with people there. And then I go to that building, I deal with people there. It's the same story, it's just different buildings and different personalities, but eventually the same people will vibrate back into your world because you attract the vibration that you're in. And so those people will vibrate back into your world. And so the same story just reappears. If that's your vibration. And it's bizarro land, to be honest with you. So let's say I could skip universes, if that's even a thing. And so I jump over here to this other universe. It looks the same as this one, so I jump to the other universe. But then there's some vibrations going on, and the same people show back up, or similar people. Because you might not set boundaries, or you might not have self-love. You might not have, it might be some kind of childhood thing, but the same people vibrate back in, same personalities. And you face off with the same kind of people. It's bizarro land. Now you can change your story right where you're at. You just have to shift your thinking. You have to shift your mind, your heart. Sometimes you do need to leave. Sometimes you do need to pack your stuff up and just leave, because it's just not going to change unless you make a change. Sometimes the story is so jacked up, you got to run. You know, there's been times where I had to run. It was so messed up, especially when you're around a cult. I was around a Pentecostal cult in Florida. They wanted to kill me. They tried to kill me. I ran. I took off. I knew they were trying to kill me. I knew something wasn't right. It just didn't fit. Something didn't feel right. They were in another realm. And you say, faith alone and Jesus alone, eternal security, once saved, always saved. Blah, 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 blah. They wanted to argue about something that easy. I don't even do it. I don't even argue with them anymore. If you don't understand it's faith alone, why would I argue with you? And the reason they want to argue is because they want to bring you into their little cult. I'm not going to argue. You can do your thing. I'll do my thing. And then when you leave, they follow you. You say, I'm done. Bye. Adios. I'm changing states. They follow you. Seriously. They can't leave you alone once they think they got you. They follow you. It follows. The Pentecostal cult will try to kill you. Unless you join in with their fake emotional slaying in the spirit, speaking in some kind of jibber jabber. They want you to prop up that because it's a money making machine, right? The Baptists are a legalistic machine, money making machine, wants you to feel guilty if you don't do this. The Methodists are traditions. You got to follow traditions. You got to speak right, look right, follow tradition. It's faith alone. Just be real, people. Just be yourself. Come on. Quit trying to follow some ritual. There's no way I would go back to a 501(c)(3). If you are, that's more power to you. Maybe that's good for you. Be around some other believers. But if you start talking about deeper things that they just sit on the pew and they don't grow, you start talking about some deeper things that God has revealed to you, like walking in the Spirit, which no preacher preaches on hardly. They don't even know what it means. The people are saying, what does it mean to walk in the Spirit? Love and truth. It's not a rule. It's not law. Not rule. It's love and truth. Walk in love. Walk in truth. Long story short. I don't play the games anymore. These are boxes. They're boxes, and they're created to give that security blanket feeling. And these boxes, if you don't support the box, then you become a target because you're not building. And if you join a box and you say, wait a minute, I'm leaving because this ain't right, then they try to pull you back in. And if you don't go back, they try to kill you. And they might not try to kill you physically, but they usually do. They try to kill you in other ways because you're not in the box. The whole system's a bunch of boxes, and if you're not in one of their boxes, they won't take you out. Now, if you create your own box, they don't care about that. They like that. But if you say it's faith alone and Jesus alone, which is not a box, because you unfold a box, you get the cross. You talk about no box, then you become a target because you haven't created your own box or you haven't joined up with a box because they don't understand the identity that's in Christ, they think you're crazy because you got to have an identity in something. You got to be a Democrat or Republican or CNN or Fox News or a Dallas or a Redskin, Dallas Cowboys, or you got to be a Joe Rogan supporter or Alex Jones, or you got to have some box. You got to be a New Age box, or you got to have some box. And the faith alone is not a box. So you are a target. And if they can't mess with you and mess with your mind, because you've put enough thought into this thing, and they can't take you out, they'll try to isolate you. They do everything they can to keep you in a box. And if you're not in a box and they can't put you in a box, then they want to shut you up, shut you down, and keep anybody who's in a box from escaping that box. Because the box is a 666 cube flesh mind. And when you unfold that, you see the cross. And you realize the energy of the flesh is weakness. And the only way to escape is faith alone in Jesus alone. And I wish it wasn't real, but it is real. I wish it was a different kind of reality, but it's not. And so you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. How are you going to escape the flesh mind? How are you going to escape the cube? How are you going to escape the 666 system? Everything that man makes is slavery. Everything that man makes is fake. Fake food. Fake air. They're messing with the air. Fake money. Plastic. Everything's plastic. Everything's fake that man makes. I was listening to one of those philosophers. When man makes something, he makes it from the outside in, unless he does a mold, or like pours the mold. But when that tree's growing, it grows from the inside out. What man makes, he makes it from the outside in. But what God makes, he makes it from the inside out. That's something really deep to think about, really. I mean, that's something really deep to think about. Everything that man makes is fake, and it decays and is useless. And you say, well, man's decaying, going back to the grave. Yeah, but man stepped into sin. If man wouldn't have went into sin, he would live forever. But he went into sin because that was his devices. So God made man upright, but he sought out many devices. So when you do devices, you go down. Man makes devices. It goes into rust and all that stuff. But what God makes is forever. The Spirit. Yeah, the earth will be renovated. But the reason the earth fell is because man fell. God had to give you something that you could understand. If you are a sinner and you're decaying and you're in cycles, God had to give you an earth of cycles, earth of water. I mean, God had to give you what you are because you couldn't understand if it was above you. In other words, when you look out, you see mud and dirt and clay and water. And you see the ocean, the waves. You see the cycles, the night and day. So you see the system cycling as a birthing system, a reproduction. So you can only learn from looking at yourself. In other words, so when you look at let's say a man and woman get married, you're actually looking at a mirror image, another person, and you're turning each other. Both are turning, and you're both growing. I've talked about this stuff 1,000 times. That's really... If everything came from the Word, then everything is a word. So you just look at that lock and you know it's a lock. You don't even have to say the word. You just know it's a lock. You look at that window and you know what it is without even saying the word window. When you look at that silly clothesline, which they probably never use. You look at the clothesline and the pole, you know what that's a clothesline. You don't even have to say the word. It's a word in itself, just a symbol. You look at that vent on that house, you know it's just a, you know it's a vent. You don't even have to say the word vent. You just know by the shape that it's a vent. You look over there and you're thinking air flowing out. You don't even have to think the word vent. And that paint on the wall, you don't even have to say the word paint. It's a word in and of itself. Everything is a word. This mirror, I don't have to say the word mirror. You just know it's a mirror. When you're going down the road, you want to see who's behind you, just turn your head. You don't think mirror, you just turn your head. You look in the mirror. You want to look behind you. You don't say the word mirror in your mind, you just look. And there it is. I don't know if this is helping anybody or not. Maybe I'm done. Maybe it's time to throw in the towel. There's a squirrel over there and there's a bird over there. They're both in the same yard together. What's the object lesson? What is the object lesson? Squirrel's eating some nuts. The bird's eating some seeds, looking for seeds or worms or something. They're both in the yard, in the fence, playing around, eating, looking for food together. And they're two different species. A bird, but they both have head, they both have legs, they both have a body. They're fenced in. I mean, it's pretty cool, to be honest, because I see that a lot. I see a bird. The bird's in the background. And the squirrel's right there. So the squirrel's looking at the bird now. He noticed the bird. He ain't scared of the bird. And the bird ain't scared of the squirrel because they're not eating each other. They're eating seeds and worms and nuts. They're not in competition. They're just enjoying their way of being. And they have two different ways of being. What's the object lesson? Doesn't matter if it's angels. Doesn't matter if it's humans. We're all eating and drinking of the same eternal life. That's the object lesson. That's why when John the Revelator went up to heaven and he almost worshipped the angel. He said, "Don't worship me. I'm just like you. Don't worship me. Worship God. I'm just like you. I'm a created being too." Don't worship a human, and don't worship something human makes. Don't worship Tesla. Don't worship Ford. Don't worship anything a human makes. And don't worship anything made. Worship God, and you'll be free.